Alright, good afternoon, gentlemen. Hopefully everyone's having a fantastic day. It's episode number 34 of the Minecraft Survival Let's Play. We're just doing some terraforming right now. A few things I want to address. I am still a little bit sick, so you might hear some strange noises, some coughing, me being short of breath and kind of taking pauses. I'm sorry about that. Other than that, I also want to discuss the fact that we're back to weekly uploads, so all of the videos are going to be a little bit shorter than usual, probably about half the length of regular videos. If we usually do 30-minute episodes, these are going to be around 15 minutes, just so I can get more content out weekly, and I guess it's the same amount of content, it's just more frequent. That's the best way I can put it. Anyways, we have a bunch of things to work on in today's episode, some projects that I want to finish up, so let's go ahead and get into that. Alright, so starting us off exactly where we were in the previous episode, we went ahead and terraformed this entire landmass over here. This will one day eventually be kind of like the countryside that leads into the city of, I guess, Roman or Tuscan inspired, basically just Italian inspired village. I did a bunch of terraforming in the previous episode. We basically finished everything up. There's still a few things, some minor things that I want to change up, still some grass that's being transformed, but in today's episode, I want to get to building on this landmass. And I think the only thing that we're going to do to terraforming itself is finish up this river over here. We need to build up the back wall of this other landmass and then fill up the water, I guess raise up the water level so that it looks like an actual river and it's not all dried up. So I'm going to get to work on that, and as soon as I'm done, I'll be back with you guys to show it off. Alright, and here we are. So as you can see, there's a lot of water going on. There's definitely a lot of blue going on. I'm not exactly sure if I'm 100% happy with the aesthetic or the look of this. The river is very wide and it kind of just looks awkward. Now I feel like I also have to adjust my volume right here. I turned that off quickly and forgot to turn it back on. But like I was saying, it is very wide, and to kind of change that to make it look like it fits in a little bit more, we'll add different boats, we'll add bridges like this right here, which is not only a bridge, but it's also a dam. You can see on one side, on the left side, the water is a little bit higher, and that's mostly because I didn't want to raise this right side's water up even more. I thought we were like going too far with the water, so I just left it at that, and I think that definitely helps. The dam itself looks fine. I think it still needs to be decorated. We need to texture the blocks and all of that, but it's very early days. Maybe we'll get rid of it. But for now, I think it looks interesting. But yeah, there's still much to be done. Still a bunch of terraforming that we need to do. As you can see, everything is very incomplete on this side over here. I keep saying incomplete. And yeah, so there's still all of that I have to get to, but I think that this main, and this section of water right here, how it doesn't really link to this, I'm not sure if I'm in love with that. Maybe we'll have both of them link, and then it'll truly be an island, or I guess a peninsula. But yeah, still much work to be done, still a lot of things that I want to edit, but I think for now we're gonna finally leave all of the terraforming behind and finally start building on this ginormous landmass that's basically untouched. Okay, so I know I said that we were going to start building on this landmass right here in front of me, and we will, but the first thing I wanted to do is kind of shape where the paths are going to go and what this is going to lead to. So this entire main landmass right here basically just leads you right over here. This is going to be the entrance to the bridge that takes you to the other side, the main city where the Colosseum is going to be. So this is just like the first gate, then there's going to be a bridge, which I built up, and then there's going to be another big gate, which is kind of surrounded by this big royal wall that's going to kind of surround the entire big city, and we'll get to all of that. Right now it's just kind of planning, and you can see we're using a pretty different block palette. I went for brick for the roofs, and then for the second floor it's using the red sandstone that we usually use for the roofs of these Italian inspired houses. This is the bridge. It's kind of unfortunate how boats can't go under the bridge, but I feel like this looks a little bit stronger, that's why I went with that. And then these are going to be two towers, which are going to have a gate in between, and then on the left and right of the two towers there's going to be that big wall I was talking about. So I'm going to continue to develop this and work on it. It's all very early days, and this is kind of just like the beginning of this new big city. We're definitely going to get back to the main landmass that we've been terraforming, but I just kind of wanted to give myself that kind of planning structure, like roads will lead to this gate, and then we'll go on from there. Okay, and here's the main gate at the other side of the bridge. You can see there's these two towers. They're not exactly that tall. We have the main entrance here, and then we have the walls off to the sides. Now, these walls are going to have to surround the main city, so I decided not to make them too complex because there's going to be a lot of work that I have to put into them, so I don't want them to be highly detailed. That's going to get repetitive and annoying, and I won't want to do it. So this way, I'll be fine with replicating them because it's just some cobble, some sandstone, and then I guess some spruce wood at the top where the platform is. But yeah, this is all interconnected. You can walk into here, you come up into these towers. I guess there's some blocks that I forgot to pick up here, but I think this looks pretty great. You have a great view over here. You have this main platform here in the middle, and you can look down at the bridge. I guess this is where like archers would stand or something along those lines. But yeah, again, all interconnected. This will take you back onto the walls, which will surround the entire city. You'll be able to walk all the way around them. It's all functional. It looks pretty good. Maybe it doesn't look great, and maybe it's a little bit too far back from the water. I guess it should have been a little bit closer to the water, so it's more of like a wall right against the water, which would make sense because it's more of like a moat. But I guess this is just a river, so it doesn't really have to look like that. It doesn't really have to be 100% realistic. It just has to look cool, and I feel like I've achieved that, and I'm definitely happy with these two gates. All right, so finally starting to build up some infrastructure on this side, or I guess on this landmass. You can see that I've added 3 new platforms to this cobblestone area right here. It used to just be the one cobblestone platform that held up the house, but I wanted to make it look a little bit better. Instead of doing terraforming, we've added these 3 platforms, so that kind of hides the original big platform. I've said platform about 100 times in this clip, but we can put like a house on each one of these and then link them up with stairs. They're not filled in or anything like that. I just went ahead and lit up the areas, and then we're going to cover them up so that we don't get mob spawns and so that they look like they're filled up. That's the desired goal, I guess, but I don't want to waste a bunch of cobblestone. I think that makes sense, and that's fair enough. But yeah, we're going to put like a house on each one of these, link them up with stairs. I think that should look pretty cool and definitely unique. We don't have anything like this in the world, so that's pretty interesting. Okay, so I've begun work on a new project here. What I'm going for is kind of like a small villa-ish. You know, it's perched up on top of this hill right here, so when we build a balcony on the back of the house, it should have a very nice view of the previous project we work on, kind of like the Italian grapevine. If we fly around to the front here, you could see that there's a bunch of these different sandstone levels and a path that kind of maneuvers right through it. It's winding, so, you know, it goes left and then right. That gives it a pretty cool detail, but all of these sandstone platforms are going to be different gardens, kind of like flower gardens, some vegetable gardens. We'll have trees up along the side of this path. You'll see what that looks like in a second. Obviously, if you use the path and climb up to the top, this is where the house is going to sit up here. I think it's a very cool spot because it is elevated. You know, this is the balcony that I was talking about. You have this really great view of our previous projects, and when everything is filled in, it should look even cooler. But, you know, let's take a fly around back here and try to land up on top of this platform. Yeah, so we get up here and you can see what I'm going for. You can see the foundation of everything. You can see all the coarse dirt. That's where all the vegetation is going to go. The winding path, the house up top. It looks pretty good so far. I think the foundation is strong, and we're only going to continue to develop it. You can also see I started to add some other details. Like I started to outline where the path is going to go. This is going to be the main road that takes you to this new kind of Colosseum village or city that I've been talking about, but it takes you from our previously established world all the way back. And I've been doing a few other things. You know, I got rid of all the stone. I added some stairs to these platforms over here, and it's all coming together. So I'm going to go ahead, continue to work on all of these little things, and then I'll be back with you when I have some progress done. Okay, so I finally got the shell of the house in here. I don't really have all the little minutia and details planned out, but we have a roof on it. We have the second floor. We have a bunch of the balconies and these kind of like roofs over the balconies using the campfire block. I think that's a phenomenal detail. I love the campfire block. You can see it's very in vein with the previously built gates that we did in today's episode. We have that orange second layer and then the brick roof, which is pretty different from what we've previously been using to build these Italian style houses. You can see the comparison right there. A lot more sandstone and orange in the other houses, but I think that this looks cool. It diversifies the area. We'll have different districts that use different block palettes, so that should be pretty interesting. But yeah, flying around to get a nice view of this house, I think it looks very epic. It does give off that mini villa vibe. It isn't exactly a full-out villa, but it is kind of in vein with a villa. It looks epic and bigger and richer than any of the other houses, and I just love the fact that it's up on this hill. It kind of just looks perfectly positioned up there. So yeah, I'm really loving this build. I'm going to continue to develop it. I think this is such a great view of it. I'm just absolutely in love with the way it's looking so far. So I'm going to continue to work on it, and then I'll be back with you guys to show you any other details that I come up with. Alright, I haven't exactly done much, but there's a few details that I wanted to show off. You can see the orange sky setting in. That looks fairly beautiful. I added a bunch of vegetation in over here, some lighting to illuminate the area. We have a bunch of different flowers, some bushes. The trees that I added in I think look pretty good. We're going to add a few more of those that lead up the path because I think that just looks very grand and very Italian. But yeah, I think the epicness is really setting in. I'm really loving this build so far. We're probably going to leave it off just right here for this particular episode, episode, but we'll get back to it in the next episode, and we'll continue to expand out this section of the world. Overall, I'm just really happy with what we've done so far. So yeah, let's move on to something else. Okay, so stepping away from building, the next thing that I want to do in our world is find some bees. I really haven't played around or tested any of the bee mechanics. I want to eventually hook up some kind of automatic farm in the base so that while we're in the storage room, while we're in the surrounding area, the bee farm can just be working. I want to collect up a bunch of honey blocks because I know they're useful for redstone contraptions, and I especially want to get some of those honeycomb blocks because they would look amazing in the end. I feel like we could definitely incorporate those in a lot of the builds because they're this beautiful kind of like a gold yellow pattern, and I think that'll look really great. So I'm going to do my best to go ahead and find a bunch of beehives. We'll bring them back to the base, and then we'll start farming up all the honey we need and eventually build up some sort of an automatic farm. I'm really unsure of how any of that works, so I'm going to have to find the design, and I'm really not sure what the rates are like. Do bees give you a lot of honey? Do you need a lot of honey to collect, or I guess to craft the blocks? I've never touched any of that, so I want to get into that. So I'm going to go ahead and again find some bees. Alright, so here we are back at the base, and you can see I went ahead and created the world's ugliest containment unit out of orange glass and stone brick. That's all I had laying around at the base, but yeah, you can see the beehives on the walls. You can see there's a bunch of flowers that I placed. This is all right next to the moss farm, which we built in a previous episode, and right around here I want to eventually build up the automatic farm, but right now I'm just letting the bees come out, pollinate, go back in, and I'm harvesting up as many honeycomb blocks as I can, or sorry, honeycomb items, so that we can go ahead and craft the kind of like man-made versions of the beehives, or whatever these are called. I'm not exactly sure. All of this bee stuff is very new to me, so I'm reading through the wiki, I'm finding out what's going on, and I'm just waiting for the bees to come out so I can acquire a bunch of that honeycomb, and then we could eventually build those blocks and eventually build the actual automatic farm so that I don't have to do any of this manually. I can just sit back and relax and collect up a bunch of honeycomb, and I guess honey in bottles. That's the way you get that, and then you craft that up into the honey blocks, which are like the reverse of slime blocks. But yeah, I'm gonna manually farm up a bunch of this, and then I'll be back with you. Alright, so I was sitting here wondering why the bees weren't coming out, and then I realized that it's nighttime, and apparently bees only come out during the day, so that's why a lot of people build farms in the nether and the end, where there's no day-night cycle, and bees are always just continuously coming out of the beehives and pollinating and going back in. I'm not going to do that. I want it to be in the base specifically so that when I'm in the base, because I spend a lot of time here, the farm is working. If we have it in the nether in the end, I'm not really going to use it that much, and I'll have to like purposefully go there just to AFK. But yeah, I'm just breeding up the bees so that we have even more bees going in and out, and we're getting even more honeycomb. I understand the process now. I'm just going to have to continuously do it until we have enough honeycomb to build up all of the farm. Alright, but unfortunately that's going to be all for today's episode. Hopefully you all did enjoy it. I know we didn't get the most work done, and that's mostly due to the fact that it's just pretty difficult for me to get these audio logs out. I'm coughing in between each of the clips, I'm short of breath, and I'm kind of just tired of talking, so I'm going to take some time. I'm going to rest, do some AFK, I guess off-camera work, and just farm up a bunch of resources and just get better. Hopefully I'm better by next week's episode, and we can continue to work on all of these projects. We'll build up the bee farm. I found a pretty cool design on YouTube, so we'll put that in the world, and we'll just continue to develop the world. So anyways, again, hopefully you all did enjoy the episode. I'll see you back here next week for episode number 35. Have a great day, guys.